can't believe I'm even getting this on video right now.
Last month, I went on a trip that I will never forget. If you've been a longtime viewer of this channel, you'll know that West Virginia has a special place in my heart. It's one of my favorite places to go for photography, video, and just a good time. The sights are always beautiful, and the quietness and solitude is unmatched. And while this story I'm going to tell you took place last month, the buildup had been happening over the past few years. It kind of all started back when I went to college for my first year back in 2022, and I was trying to get friends to come along with me on my fall break. The whole plan was to go to West Virginia, rent a cabin, or go camping for a few nights and just go on a huge road trip. And I was still able to get out to West Virginia, but it didn't work out in quite the way I had anticipated. But I'm glad it happened the way it did, because I was still met with some incredible, beautiful fall color and got to spend some time with some friends on individual day trips. And the same thing happened the next year, which I'm not complaining about because that was also another great year out in God's creation. But this year, things aligned and I was able to go on a trip with my friends Andrew, Andre, and Xavier. And the four of us had an amazing experience. We drove out deep into the mountains of West Virginia and immediately stopped for sunset atop one of the most popular ski resorts in the area. While the ski resort obviously was not in operation, it still made for a beautiful backdrop as we had beautiful fall colors surrounded with the chairlifts for the skis. And not only were the colors great, but the views were fantastic. That night I got a good first glimpse at the temperatures we would be facing and realized that I forgot to pack my winter coat. And that was a fun endeavor, trying to figure out how to stay warm. But I eventually figured it out. Andre and I went out back of the place we were staying and tried to take some photos of the night sky. And we had heard that there would be a really good chance of a solar storm hitting while we were out in West Virginia, as the sun is approaching its solar maximum. And back in May, I tried to capture the largest solar storm of the decade, but the area I was in was unfortunately way too cloudy, and I had constraints with how far I could go to try and capture the aurora due to having to work the next day. And while I did get a photo I am pretty proud of, I didn't get to witness the aurora with my bare eyes. But that night back in May sparked something within me, and I wanted to really try to capture the aurora. I was researching when it would happen next, tracking all this data about solar storms and solar flares, stuff that's way beyond my head, but I was praying to the Lord, asking if I could get another opportunity to capture the Northern Lights, and I will get to that in just a moment. Our second day in West Virginia started out with a beautiful sunrise that was very cold. I was outside for just a few minutes. I think I took a few photos. I don't even remember if I took videos at all, but I was there and I saw it, and then I went back inside. It was just so cold. So later that day I went around shopping at the resort trying to figure out where can I get gloves and a hat. The last time I was out in this area, I was staying at a place called Bald Knob. And the most common way people get to Bald Knob is by a mountain train, which provides scenic views of the area. When I stayed there, I stayed up at the Fire Tower Watchman's cabin, and I made a whole video on that experience that I posted on this channel a few months back. And it was an incredible experience, but unfortunately when I went, the train wasn't running. So this time my goal was to get out there and capture the train surrounded by fall color. My friends and I were able to capture just that. It was a beautiful day, and the train was filled with people that were very enthusiastic and waved to us as it went by. As a kid, I really loved trains, so getting to merge my modern love of photography, drone flying, with that train passion from my childhood was really fun. And it was a beautiful experience, and I think my friends had a great time. Shortly after that, we had to head back to the place we were staying to regroup, recharge our batteries, and get ready for our evening expedition, which was what I was looking forward to the most, because that day I had received notifications from some weather services I was tracking that a solar flare was hitting. And this wasn't just any average solar flare hitting. It was anticipated to be as big, if not bigger, than the May storm that I tried to capture. So with high hopes and a spirit of adventure, my friends and I headed out to this mountain. It was a long drive. We had to go on a dirt road for almost a solid hour, and it was a very rough road, but it led us to this beautiful grassy bald mountain. After a short while of hanging out on the mountain, taking in the views, my friends and I realized that we were not alone. We discovered a small group of cows was grazing on the grass and enjoying the views too. As the sun got lower, the day got even more beautiful. The sky was almost perfectly clear, which was fantastic given the chance of northern lights being visible that night. My friends and I ran around in the field, got some awesome photos, and just enjoyed each other's company in the glory of God's creation. And what happened next was beyond my comprehension.
Dude, look at that! Up there!
Oh yeah, there we go.
Holy...
There we go.
Guys, we are literally looking at the northern lights.
So crazy! Oh my god!
And the sun's still... What?
Oh man.
Holy moly!
I genuinely cannot put into words how incredible it was. As the light from the sun diminished, the northern lights became more and more visible, taking up the entire night sky. We looked north, we saw a blaze of colors: green, yellow, orange, red, magenta, and that stretched all the way out to the west. And even pointing our cameras up overhead, we were able to see a giant red glow. I always thought that you would have to go to Iceland or Alaska or someplace super remote to see the northern lights. And here I am, seeing it on a random mountain in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia. Everything aligned. We had clear skies. I was in a super dark spot. I was with my friends. We had all the right equipment. What we experienced was nothing short of an answered prayer. I've been praying for months that I would be able to capture that again. And I captured some of the most incredible photos I have ever taken. I don't understand how anybody could look up at that and say that there is not a creator. The universe declares his glory. His hand is so visibly seen in creation. Every minute detail to the largest detail declares his glory. I was genuinely speechless. I sat there with my friends watching the northern lights, and I don't think that is an experience I will ever, ever, ever forget. And I pray that's the first of many experiences like that. Because from what I've heard, that's just the beginning of the solar maximum. We're going to get more storms, hopefully, just like that one. So if you want to see the Northern Lights, there's a good chance it'll happen to you. And you'll be able to see that. And you'll be able to see the glory of God on display. And while the Northern Lights were incredible, that is not the only display of God's glory that we saw. The fact that fall colors are colorful and vibrant, when something is technically dying, being able to witness beauty in the midst of destruction, it really points to an intelligent design. When you think of it, God did not have to make the earth beautiful. He didn't have to make trees colorful when they go into hibernation for winter. He didn't have to make the northern lights. But God made things that way so that his name would be glorified, because all of creation points to him. If you haven't experienced that, even just going out into a dark spot and seeing the Milky Way, or seeing the stars, seeing the cosmic scale of the universe, and seeing how tiny we are, yet we are so important because humans are made in the image of God, and God loves his creation. It's a story that is so hard to fathom, but it's so rich and so true. And this trip was just such a beautiful reminder. It's like seeing a glimpse of heaven. It was incredible. Anyhow, we ended up staying up super late capturing the Northern Lights because it was just non-stop. The storm was extremely, extremely powerful and just kept on going and going. And you would look one direction, there would be a giant pillar of light in the sky. You look the other direction, it's going crazy over there. We were stopping and taking pictures on the way back even. Like we knew we had to get back at a good time so we could get some sleep for the next day, but we just had to keep stopping for it. And needless to say, we got to bed at a pretty late hour, but it was 100% worth it. So some of my friends the next day were a little too tired to come along on the trip I had planned, but my friend Xavier and I went out to a nearby fire tower and got to see a beautiful sunset. And that was an incredible little expedition, and we had the place to ourselves, which is always fantastic. And then after that came the last day of the trip, which was a beautiful day, but slightly bittersweet because we knew we were on our way back to college where we'd have to go and do more work, but we were able to cherish every single moment. On our last day, we went to a train bridge that was restored, and there was also a cool train tunnel surrounded by some cool color. And we drove into the nearby town, got some food, walked around. There was a fall festival going on, so that was very beautiful, and got some cool photos and enjoyed that. And then we headed up to another fire tower for our last sunset of the trip, and that was another beautiful, beautiful experience. I keep saying this, but the whole trip was an answered prayer. Beginning to end, it was just an abundant blessing. I wanted to get on here and share this because I make so many videos talking about how to do this, how to do that, and the places I've been, the places I go. But I haven't talked about the why behind I do these things. It's an escape for me because life gets difficult, and I feel closest to my Creator when I'm out in his creation. So if I can encourage you in anything, if you want to feel closer to God, if you want to know God, because he wants to know you, he says in his word, you can dwell with him anywhere. You don't have to be in the middle of nowhere. You don't have to go out into the mountains to do it. But there's just something so special about putting aside all distractions, going out with some friends into the mountains, and just enjoying the beauty of God's creation. It opens your eyes and helps you see how insignificant you are, yet how significant you are. And that sounds like a paradox, but in the Bible it talks about how God cares for the birds. And he asks, how much more valuable are you to your Heavenly Father? So if you think about that, it's really a blessing to be able to do stuff like this. And I pray that the content I make on this channel shows the glory of God and encourages you to be an adventurous person, but most importantly, to see the glory of God. It's all for his glory.